Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. Today is Tuesday, October 26th, and we are just getting done with Week 7 NFL season. I'm Tyler. I'm here with Tim.
How's it going?
And what a wild one this one was. I feel like this was a weird week again for fantasy football.
It was probably the worst week for football, watching football-wise.
Yeah.
Just nothing good to watch.
No good games. Really feel like players all around were, I feel like there were a select few, but outside that, they're kind of hit or miss. They're all kind of average. Just no really big guys, no really bad guys, but it was just a weird week in general for fantasy football. But yeah, and watching football, yeah, it's just tough weekend. Went 2-1, both of us for our best, so that was good.
I went 3-0.
Oh, you did go 3-0. The Raiders had a win. 2-1 for me, 3-0 for you. I had the Eagles. So, so looking up for us on this side of the table here, gambling.
Yeah, we made some money.
Made some money in college football, too, so something to keep an eye out for. But let's go ahead and jump right into some of the news around the league from this weekend. Some injuries that have come up, starting with Miles Sanders with the Eagles. He has a sprained ankle. They are saying it's not as bad as what it looked and as bad as what they thought. So he might be out just for a couple weeks, but with his absence, Gainwell looks to be one of the lead carriers there for them, as well as Boston Scott. So
yeah, Gainwell's going to be getting a lot of those passes, but at the end when Miles Sanders got hurt, Boston Scott did get some touches.
Yeah.
I think he even had a touchdown, didn't he?
I don't know. I think Gainwell had one.
I know Gainwell did. I thought Boston Scott put one in.
No, I don't think Boston Scott did. But
yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. So he's going to be more on the ground, I think, with that team. So big for those two. And a little sad because it looked like Miles Sanders was finally getting involved. He had 6 carries, 30 yards. So that was a big one. Zach Wilson's going to be out for a couple weeks with a sprain in his MCL. That's just bad news for a bad football team already. I saw they're bringing in Joe Flacco again, who is an elite quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see there. But yeah, he's back. Then we also have a big one was Mahomes, who got smoked at the end of the game. He's entering concussion protocol.
I bet he'll be fine.
But they're saying he's expected to play, which doesn't really surprise me. I feel like Mahomes is he's going to play no matter what. So those are some big ones. Any other big ones that I know?
Devontae Adams
out with COVID.
And now Lazard is
and Lazard, yeah. So
between that and then Tyrod Taylor looks like he's coming back for the Texans this week. He's going to be starting practice. And then, not really for fantasy, but for the Giants, Jabril, what's his name?
Peppers, yeah.
Peppers. Looks like he tore his ACL.
So he's out for the year. So.
Other than that, I think that should do it for the main stuff.
Yeah, so for sure it's looking like Adams, Lazard going to be out Thursday night game, which is a pretty big game matchup, especially against Arizona. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, so he's out.
And then Nick Chubb's back.
Nick Chubb will be back. So I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to look like with Dearness and Nick Chubb back there. Dearness showed last week that he's fully capable of being a good running back in the league. I'm kind of seeing how they're going to split it up, especially with Chubb coming off his injury.
I would play Dearness because you're not going to give Nick Chubb the ball 30 times.
No, I think it'll be a split like we saw with Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a balanced workload. You're not going to overwhelm Nick Chubb coming back, so I think you play Dearness because based on what we saw last week, he kind of earned it with them, and I think it's only going to look up for him from there. So, yeah, Dearness is a play. But yeah, so Nick Chubb's coming back, and I believe that's it. Landry, he came off the IR last week, so that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the Week 7 booms for the week. So that's just some guys for each position. We're going to do quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Go through 3 of them. It's all going to be just a list of them. So the first one we're going to go over for the booms, these are guys who excelled this week at their position, is quarterbacks. And we're going to start with Joe Burrow, who had 32.6 points, 416 yards passing. He had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. This is, I feel like, Joe Burrow's solidification that he's ready to take over the league as a good one of the dominant quarterbacks. The Bengals, they are for real, and I don't know. You put Mixon, Jamar, and you give them Boyd and Higgins, some other weapons, and Uzama has become a huge weapon for them. Joe Burrow is looking like he's ready to take this league head on, and he had put up a huge week in a big game for the Bengals.
Yeah, that was, I think going in this game, the Bengals had a little bit easier schedule, and now going into the next weeks, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. And this was their first real test going into Baltimore that just shut down the Chargers,
yeah.
And Justin Herbert didn't even have a touchdown against them. So Burrow going into this, you're like, oh, maybe it's going to be the same thing. The exact opposite happened. Baltimore had kind of a bounce, kind of realigned themselves kind of more of the average. And so Joe Burrow really just threw all over them, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Big touchdowns to their tight end, and then Jamar Chase just being a beast.
And so I feel like Bengals right now are just a boom or bust team in general. You're either making a 50-yard touchdown pass, 30-plus touchdown pass, or it's pretty much 4 and 3 now.
If you start the playoffs today, they would be the number one seed in the AFC, which is crazy.
We came in knowing that the AFC North was going to be a tough division to evaluate, and it's showing that they're still very tough. With them, the Browns, Steelers are. I know they're not up there, but they're still going to stay in games too long. And then the Ravens as well, after what they did to the Chargers last week. So to me, that division, I think it's going to be a battle all year. I'm curious to see what these are going to look like twice. When they face up twice. But the big thing was they went in and beat the Ravens at home, too. So that was a huge performance by Burrow and his counterparts, Jamar and Uzama, we'll talk about later. But, yeah, just big game by both of them. I just think, I don't know, Joe Burrow's finally looking like that number one draft pick that they had. No, number two. Was he number 2 or number 1?
He's number 1.
Oh, yeah, he went before Chase Young went after him. So, yeah.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's looking great. So he was our first boom for quarterbacks here. My second boom for quarterbacks here, we got Matt Stafford, 27.2 points, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns against his old team, the Lions. This is just kind of what you expected to get out of Stafford when he was traded to the Rams. And I think after this weekend, it's a blessing for Matt Stafford to be here, and he's loving every second of it. Because you're looking at all the weapons he has, even though he doesn't utilize all of them, it's a crazy amount for him. So, huge game by Stafford, and a game that was very close, came down to the last possession. So, I don't know, he's looking very comfortable back there.
That was the thing. This game was not supposed to be close, and it was. So that really helped Stafford, and then Cooper Kupp, who we'll talk about later, because then they just had to keep throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be more of the Rams take the lead very fast, and then Darrell Henderson just gets the ball a lot at the end. It was not like that. So Matt Stafford threw for 41 times against the Lions, and against that not a very good defense, that's what's going to happen. He had 20 completions, threw for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. So there's a reason why he's the second best quarterback this week, just because he's playing bad defense, but the Lions kept it in it. So when that happened, that's when he threw the ball a lot.
Yeah, that's why I feel like Stafford and the Rams are just going to continue to be an issue as they go. Defense is great. The Lions did throw everything at them, though, this week. We saw onside kick, 2 fake punts that were successful. They were just pretty much pulling anything out that they could to come up and try to win this football game. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just a no-brainer here. Matthew Stafford's continuing. I think you're going to continue to see this each week, especially with that connection he's had with Cooper Kupp, who is his breakfast buddy. So to me, it's just, I don't know. I think the sky's the limit with the Rams, and with the Seattle Seahawks being dinged up, I think it's probably, you got to watch out for the Cardinals, see how they play them again.
The Cardinals, so.
Yeah. And if they match up with the Cardinals second time, and I think if they handle them, I don't know. I think I'd almost take the Rams in that round too, but the Cardinals just have so many weapons. It's just a tough division. So, yeah, so he was our second boom. Our third boom here is going to be a little surprise guy, I feel like, especially for quarterbacks. He's one that's considered in and out of trade talks each week, and that is Tua Tagovailoa here. He had 26.5 points. Fantasy-wise, 291 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, which is a huge notch, but he did have 2 interceptions this week. It's just Tua, I feel like they're giving him the best opportunity to be successful, and that's getting the ball out quickly, and they're finally utilizing Waddle consistently, and then also getting the ball into Gesicki's hands a lot, and using the back out of the backfield a lot as well. So I don't know. Tua looked better this game than he did last week, but the Dolphins I feel like definitely look 1,000 times better with him back there than with Brissett.
Yeah, this is one of those things where the Dolphins are bad, so they're trying to play catch up the whole time. And the Falcons did take a pretty fast lead, so it's actually the Dolphins actually came back and were leading at the end. And then when the Falcons kicked that field goal kind of at the end of the game, that's what sealed it. But yeah, Tua, a lot of people are questioning Tua. They don't know if he's the quarterback there. But for fantasy against kind of these bad defenses, I think you can play him because of how he threw 40 times today or yesterday and then 47 times the week before. So when you throw over 40 times, you're going to be able to get some points out of that. And he had 4 touchdowns. Only other quarterback who threw 4 touchdowns was Tom Brady this week. So if you see a bad defense coming up and you need a quarterback, I know maybe not next week for Tua because they're playing Buffalo, but the week after that they play Houston, and that's where it could be a really good start for Tua, just because how many times they have to throw the ball and how they're always they have to come back in games.
Well, yeah, it's like Brian Flores and the Dolphins just refuse to run the football, and it blows my mind why they're doing that. But the best way for Tua to be successful is to quickly get the ball out of his hands, and I think they're finally starting to do that a little bit more. So I think you'll continue to see these bigger performances now, maybe not 4 touchdowns, but some higher notches for him with like 2 to 3 a game if he's getting there. There's these quick screens with their athletes taking it to the house. I was reading some things here with the Dolphins. Some trade destinations they were looking at as if like Melvin Gordon possibly getting traded there to maybe help that run game.
Maybe try to use Gaskin first and then see what happens.
But it is already pretty much sold that they don't really care for Gaskin. So he was a name that I saw get thrown out there, and then as well as Allen Robinson with the Bears to be traded out there because you look at the Dolphins, Fuller, he might be out for the rest of the year. You never know. Devontae Parker's been off and on the injury list for all year. Hasn't played the last couple games. Mm-hmm. So it's just something to keep an eye out for. I don't see that happening, but to me, it's like if a team like that and they see a guy like Allen Robinson who's being very much underutilized by a terrible head coach in Matt Nagy, why not try and go get him? So I don't know. Those are just 2 things that I saw that to me would make sense.
Allen Robinson makes a lot more sense just because he's still good. It's just the offense that he is in is just you can tell by how he's on the field. He just doesn't. I feel like he just doesn't care anymore.
I wouldn't care. Matt Nagy's an idiot. So yeah, but those were just some of the things I've been reading. So something to keep an eye out for, especially with trade deadlines coming up here soon, and teams kind of making that push for playoffs. Now you got to start turning the corner and getting guys to maybe help you. So that'll round out our booms for the quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and move over to our booms for the running backs for this week then. And biggest performance here was last night, Monday Night Football, Alvin Kamara, 33.9 points. He had only 51 rush yards, but he had 128 reception yards. But the big key for him was 10 receptions alone and then a touchdown, which in PPR, 10 receptions is a game-changer type of performance from him.
Yeah, so when you get 10 catches, you're usually going for around the 100-yard mark, so that's a good 20 points. Yeah, that game was just so ugly, but their Saints had Kamara, and that was the only bright side for him. They just did the right thing, just got him the ball as much as possible. 20 carries and then had 10 catches. He's getting the ball about 30 times, and that's what they need to do. He scored the only touchdown for them, but it was just enough, and I'm not surprised by that. It just was very surprising how little they're using Kamara lately.
At the beginning,
but then now they're just, I don't know, that offense just doesn't look good. But so you just have to give it to your best player.
You just got to utilize who you got back there. You know, Kamara's probably one. I mean, you could put him up there. Christian McCaffrey is one of the most dynamic pass catchers out of the backfield too, and I would say Kamara's probably one of the better runners as well. Mm-hmm. You just don't see it a lot, and that's what to me is crazy. I think in any type of system besides Sean Payton's, he's running the ball 20-plus times a game. And because he could see holes, he runs so smoothly. So, I don't know, Alvin Kamara's, this is what you kind of expect out of him. A lot of people thought you were going to see these drop-offs with Breeze being gone, but I think they're starting to finally realize that Jameis Winston's just being a smarter football player and getting the ball of his hands to Kamara. So, I think you'll continue to see big weeks. Maybe not as big as this one, but big weeks like this out of him, especially out of the backfield with some of their matchups they have coming up. Because I know they play the Bucks next week.
And they do next week, but just for him, like, he catches the ball so much where you've seen running like Myles Gaskin, and you've seen running backs have good games catching the ball out of the backfield, and they're going to have to give him the ball to beat the Bucks. So I expect him to he might even have a better game next week.
That's right. Yeah, with how we saw how bad the Bucks are not good at covering the running backs out of the backfield, so I see it's all for him. So huge performance out of him, big play for him, especially against a solid. Not I would say great defense, but they aren't terrible in bad weather. So. First boom was Alvin Kamara. Our second boom this week at running backs, DeAndre Swift here with 30.4 points, 48 rushing yards, 96 receiving yards. He had 8 receptions and 1 touchdown. And I feel like DeAndre Swift has slowly and quietly made his way into a top 5 running back this year.
Yeah, he's actually ranked number 2 right now for running backs. Just how much he's kind of like Kamara, and out of that backfield, he's catching the ball, he's running the ball. He was on the field 75% of the snaps. So you kind of saw at the beginning of the year where you saw Swift and Williams being used about 50-50. Now it's about 75-25 almost with Swift and Williams. I don't know if Williams is hurt a little bit, but Swift is definitely that number 1 back there, and he's number 2 in all of fantasy for running backs. Yeah. So he's kind of just been doing this every single game. Like, the Lions are having to come back each time, and it kind of sucks for them, but they're giving him the ball, they're passing him the ball.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's open, kind of those little dump offs, and he does a lot with it. 30 points again this week.
That's why I know he broke off a huge receiving touchdown. So to me, I just feel like the Lions are realizing he's their best weapon. It's what they're going to do, and what they need to be successful is to get the ball in his hands. And it's only his second year, so you're going to have these games with him, but I think the decrease, I know Jamal was dinged up, but I think the decrease is due to the fact that DeAndre is just outperforming, and just he runs well, his vision's great, he can catch, so it's everything you want out of a back to be that dual threat. So to me, I think you're only going to see this continue because he has the Vikings still twice. He also plays
the Eagles next week,
the Bears still, and he still has another matchup against the Packers too. So
if you're looking ahead, and if you can get into a championship, week 16 plays the Falcons, and week 17 plays the Seahawks. So if he's healthy there, that's going to be
his schedule's not too tough down the road. So, and I think no matter what, they're going to utilize him a lot. So big play out of DeAndre this weekend, showing why you. And if you draft him in the 3rd round, you're sitting there and you're loving every aspect with this guy right now. So he's my second boom. My third boom of the week is Damian Harris, or as Tim likes to refer to him as Damian Harrison. He had 26.3 points, 106 rush yards. He did have 7 receiving yards on 2 receptions, but he had those 2 touchdowns, which is finally getting that sell high point for Damian Harris that we were talking about, especially in that 8th, 9th, 10th round at the beginning of the year.
Yep, so he's had the touchdowns for 3 straight games. He's now looking like he's that number 1 running back that we've been talking about the whole time. Just took him about 6 weeks to get there. What was surprising yesterday is Stevenson was actually not on the active roster.
No, he just was inactive. I read something, it's because he missed a block in week 6, but to me it's just... And that's one thing that's so frustrating about the Patriots coaching staff, and they just do stupid stuff like that. So, to me, it's just, I think this is Damian Harris' backfield. And
he has a very good matchup next week with the Chargers as well. So I expect him to kind of have the same game ahead. I don't expect the 7.5 yards per carry that he had this week, but he's only on the field, had 46% snap count, but he had 14 carries for 106 yards. Had 18 carries for 101 yards last week. So I think he can keep it up. He's not going to be, in your PPR leagues, he's not going to be catching the ball a whole lot like the first 2 running backs we talked about. But the touchdowns, that was a question coming into this year, and he already has 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's what, utilize a guy like that. And I think the Patriots are a team that love to establish a run slowly throughout the year. So I think you're going to see more action from Damian Harris as the year goes on. So that rounds out our 3 running backs for Booms this week, and then we'll slide into some of the receivers who had huge weeks. Week in and week out, we talk about this guy. It's Cooper Kupp, 37.6 points, 10 receptions, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. I feel like there's only so much we can say each week about this guy. It's just clearly Stafford's favorite target. The offense is run, I think, 100% through Cooper Kupp, and they utilize him in slots, different positions, inside, outside, and he's just always getting looks, especially, too, in that red zone. They love doing a little quick out route with him and just throwing him the ball for 6. So, to me, I feel like Cooper Kupp is 100% the steal of the draft, especially that 4-5 round.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's a huge performance by him, and it's something he's continually doing week in and week out. I feel like he hasn't he's been under 20 maybe once this year.
Let's see. Two times. Had 11 points against the Cardinals and 16 points against the Seahawks.
How many touchdowns does he have this year?
I think he has 10 already.
10 on the year?
Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. He has 9 touchdowns.
So that's a huge mark for a guy who would have big games last year and then just die off.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the schedule right now, and it's looking pretty good.
Quite frankly, I think it doesn't really matter who they play. He's going to get the ball.
He's going to, 100%. That he finally has a quarterback that can get him the ball, and we've already seen it plenty of times. It's not going to go away. Cooper Kupp's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in Phoenix this year. Who at most leagues who wins will probably have Cooper Kupp, or maybe who gets first, second, or third. Mm-hmm. Around that, all will have Cooper Kupp because he's that important to your team, and he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's doing things that I feel like nobody really could predict. You would not expect this out of him. So big performance. I think you're going to continue to see this guy at the top of the leaderboard week in and week out. So that's no surprise there with Cooper Kupp. Our second player here, I feel like he had better number yardage-wise, but didn't get as many receptions, and the touchdowns would have played a key factor. But Jamar Chase here, he had 36.1 points. He had 8 receptions, 201 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. And his touchdown came on, a 79, 80-yard touchdown run. He broke a tackle, and he was just gone. Jamar Chase has turned into the clear-cut number 1 in Cincinnati, I believe. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow and his connection, I feel like people are concerned about it, how Jamar can't catch the ball, whatever. But he has shown that there's no worry there. They're utilizing him all throughout the field, getting him the ball quick, getting the ball, especially in those vertical routes. It's just, I feel like everything's angled towards Jamar Chase, and it's going to continue to happen. And Joe Burrow and him, their connection's just better than anything that they have right now.
Unless a dramatic change happens, Jamar Chase wins the Rookie of the Year, I think, pretty easily. He's putting up all these big numbers. I think he's only had 1 game under 50 yards per catch, but he's getting the ball. He's not going to lead the league in reception or anything, but when he gets the ball, he does great things with it, and he gets into that end zone. He has 6 touchdowns already for a rookie, and I think he's on pace to have the most receiving yards by a rookie and beat Randy Moss's record right now. And I can see him doing that just because how much Joe Burrow is trying to get him the ball, and when he finally gets the ball, what he does with it, and is able to break tackles. He's strong, fast, everything you want in a wide receiver.
Yeah. So to me, it's just everything's going to continue to go through Jamar Chase, especially with Mixon back there. When they do get them going, I feel like it helps Jamar even more. But yeah, in games like we saw yesterday, when it's time to throw the ball, they're looking for Jamar Chase at all times. Mm-hmm. So he was a big boom here this week, and I feel like he's one that you're going to see in the top 5 consistently. The last one here is a guy who's had some bust weeks the last couple weeks, but then put up a huge game this week. He had 31.6 points, 6 receptions, 76 yards receiving with 3 touchdowns. And that's Mike Evans with the Bucks. And I feel like we talk about this all the time. This is what he does.
Exactly. Antonio Brown was out, so that kind of helped him out. But whenever Mike Evans has a really down week the week before, next week go big on him. Make a trade for him. If you're doing daily fantasy, try to put him in your lineups. Because whenever he has that bad week 1 had only 3 receptions, 24 yards, had 5 points. The week after that, 5 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against New England, had 7 catches, 75 yards. Week after that, had 6 catches, 113, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it's just has a bad week, has a great week every time. He's really a boomer or bust. He's wide receiver number 7, so you have to start Mike Evans every single week. You can't pick and try to figure out which one it's going to be. You got to start him, and you're going to get rewarded.
Well, that's what
like this.
If Brown continues to be out and Gronk is continuing to be out, he's a play every time because you look at Gronk, he is, yes, they're probably workhorse in the red zone, but without Gronk there and without Brown, I think it immediately switches to Mike Evans. So, huge week out of Mike Evans, and this is just what you'll see each week that he can do. He is a great red zone guy. They like to throw him the ball. He's a huge receiver. So, it's just, I know in the end of the game, too, Brady was trying to go to him for a 4th time.
Yeah, the Bucks just keep throwing the ball when they're up. Yeah. It's kind of weird how they just keep doing that.
It is, yeah. So, to me, I think it's just another performance from him that you can get each week that we've seen. And you can have these big weeks and then some of these dull weeks for Mike Evans, which you hate to have, but you got to play him because you don't want to be on the other side when he's putting up these type of numbers. So, Mike Evans, big week here. And then Godwin, he also had a good week, too.
Yeah, both of them did.
But, yeah, Mike Evans really, 3 touchdowns, what tops everything here. So that rounds out our wide receiver booms for this week. Let's go to some of the tight ends then. This guy has, I think, 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games. CJ Uzama with the Bengals. He put up 26.1 points. He only had 3 receptions, 91 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns, and 1 came on a 50-yard bomb. How many touchdowns did he have in the last 4 games?
He has 5.
5. So he's becoming a touchdown machine. He's available in like 10% or so leagues.
Yeah, he's only 15% roster.
So he's a guy that's available. So if he's out there and you're struggling at tight end play, go get this guy just because of the potential touchdown machine. It looks like it's Jamar Chase, Mixon, and Uzama right now being the target.
Yeah, you know, here's something funny though. You know who led the league on Sunday in targets?
No, who?
T. Higgins.
See, T. Higgins, I feel like it gets a lot of targets, but they're always not.
They're just not. He doesn't do the same like Uzama or what Jamar Chase does. But when I saw that, it was kind of crazy how the other two had a great game, and then T. Higgins is the one that actually had the most targets out of everyone in the league. So they're really throwing the ball. Uzama is kind of a boomer bust as well. When he doesn't score a touchdown, it's been really not very good games. But tight ends are hard to come by, and you see the Cincinnati team. I think that you need to go pick them up, at least store them, and then try to find that matchup.
Yeah, you if you're struggling with tight end anyway, you take that risk of him being a boom rather than a bust each week. So tight ends, for him, that's a huge week out with tight end, 26 points, big numbers. And that's our first boom. Our second boom is the guy who's probably projected to be Rookie of the Year by a lot of people. It's Kyle Pitts here. He had 23.3 points, 7 receptions, 163 yards. Did not find the end zone. But I feel like this is finally what you've been waiting for out of Kyle Pitts. And I think you're going to continue to see these numbers more and more as it goes. I think them having a bye week last week, in just 2 weeks ago, I guess now it would be him getting more comfortable in this offense. You're only going to see his production to continually grow. Yeah,
it's kind of weird how Kyle Pitts is a tight end, but I'm pretty sure he lines up as a wide receiver.
Yeah, he lines up as a wide receiver number 3 inside the slot.
Yeah, it's just he's a beast.
He's essentially Travis
He's that
Kelce.
number 1 guy on that team now. I know they have Calvin Ridley, and you might see it really kind of open up a little bit because people are starting to see what Pitts can do. Then you got Cordell Patterson, but I think this offense needs to go through Pitts. There's a reason why he was a number 4 pick overall, especially at the tight end position. This is why they went for him, and Matt Ryan's benefiting from it. He's having good games, and I expect Kyle Pitts to be in this top 3 for tight ends for the rest of the year.
He's essentially like the Kelce's of the league where they just line up wherever and move him around. So big week out of him, and I think, like you said, this is something we're going to see each week now with Matt Ryan. Falcons don't look terrible, and they like to throw the ball. So I think you're going to see it's just something you're going to see consistently now. And now our number 3 boom is a guy who's been in here the last couple weeks. He's continuing to starting to put up numbers like we saw last year. It's Mike Gesicki. He had 21.5 points, 7 receptions, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. Huge performance out of him again. And I think Tua is finally there. The Dolphins are utilizing the big athletic body that he is, and just huge production out of him right now.
With Tua in there, the tight end, Gesicki and Waller are really benefiting from him. He had 7 catches, had a touchdown, 85 yards. He's getting a lot of targets for the tight end position.
Yeah.
So he's tight end number, I think, 8 overall. But he's someone that I think you need to be starting every game, especially the Dolphins, like we said. They're throwing the ball a lot. So I'd expect to see Waddle, Gesicki, Tua to kind of be up in their positions a little bit on when they score, just because how much they have to throw the ball, how much they're not running the ball.
That's what, it's going to be Gesicki and Waddle continually with the Dolphins, and it's just he's a huge factor. And we've seen last year how athletic, and they utilize him in the red zone a lot, which is where he excels. So, to me, I think it's a smart play to continually get him involved, and it's something we're going to see each week. So that will round out our booms for this week. And let's go ahead and go down to some of the busts, some of the underperformers. And I feel like there was some big letdowns we did call to one of them, or 2 of them, Robbie Anderson Lockett, which was nice.
Yep.
But here's some bust for the week with quarterbacks. We'll start here. It's one guy who was looking like couldn't be stopped. New home, looked like he was fantastic. Yeah. Now he's struggling. Last 3 games he's been terrible.
He's not good.
They're not good. It's Sam Darnold with the Panthers. He put up 2.4 points. He was 16 on 25 with 111 yards and 1 interception. And this is what kills you if you're a DJ Moore owner. It's just tough to see Sam Darnold come out and put up these bad performances back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, he's just, everyone thought maybe he'd be a good QB without McCaffrey, but he needs McCaffrey in there.
Yeah,
he's just not that good of a quarterback. Robbie Anderson is not helping him whatsoever.
No, because he's
dropping, but he just doesn't look comfortable back there. He's throwing into like double, triple coverage for no reason. Just really, when he goes down bad. Yeah, he is just not.
It's good. Just bad week all around. It's a guy now, like, people are picking him up, and now you can't even play him because it's just, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's just, he's looked bad. The offense for Carolina has looked like they were in a funk. It just looks like this team was fraudulent from the start after they're going 3-0, I think it was.
Yep.
And it's going downhill from there. So, Sam Darnold, another bad week. Just something I think you got to keep your eye out. That's going to continue to happen. And if it continues like this, it affects DJ Moore's value too, who can easily be, he's their fair wide receiver, who could have easily been, I feel like, a top 10, slide in that top 5 role this year, how he was playing. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at Sam Darnold's just no way. So, bad week by him. First bust for sure. The second bust here that I have is Patrick Mahomes, 7.74 points. He was 20 out of 35, 206 yards passing, 1 interception, 1 fumble. This offense looks bad. They got blown out by the Titans. I just don't know what to think about that.
Their offensive line is not good.
No.
I don't know.
You can't get rid of these guys and expect, like, okay, let's just go do what we've been doing.
And they went for, I feel like, I don't know much about it, but they went to go get, Orlando Brown from the Ravens.
Yep.
And he was their left tackle, but that team's a running team. And they'll run the ball more. And now the Chiefs like to pass, and Brown just does not look good at the left tackle. He just looks kind of slow, and the Titans' defense is not good. So you can give credit to them, but that Chiefs are beating themselves right now, and I just do not like. I'm kind of worried about them. I think they will have they'll have a bounce back, but might be a little too late, to be honest with you, because the Raiders look good, the Chargers look good, Broncos don't, but you got to play those teams and you got to beat them. And then they have a couple of hard games coming up after next week, so should be pretty interesting to see how they look going into their bye week in Week 12.
If they don't fix the woes on defense, I don't think anything's going to happen. You're putting too much pressure on Mahomes, I think, week in and week out. And I think he's just trying to do way too much.
Way too much.
And we're seeing it within the interception total. It's going up. Per game, it's going up. And, Ole Eckelman's going to be upset hearing that. But just not a good performance here by Mahomes at all. And the Chiefs just don't look good to me. So it's something to keep an eye out for. With the Chiefs, they can always come back and be fine tomorrow. But it's not looking like that at all right now. So my last one here is going to be Jared Goff, 13 points, 23 out of 36, 268 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I know the last one came late when he was getting hit. He threw it up, and Jalen Ramsey picked it off. But just an unfortunate performance coming back against your old team, driving down to kind of put yourself up, and it's just not a good week out of Goff. It's just out of starting quarterbacks, you got to put up better numbers for that to be successful in the league.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping for a little bit better week just because it's the old team that kind of got rid of them, and the Lions kept it in the game, but it was not because of their offense. It was more because of their special teams and their defense a little bit. But yeah, Goff is just.
And I feel bad for Goff because he's throwing to nobody. You have
besides Swift and Hawkinson, like.
But you can key on the tight end, take him out of the game. When you have Armand St. Brown, who I'm pretty sure is even hurt right now, you just got these no-name guys going out the running routes for you.
It's tough. He's not a good.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for him to succeed, but it's nice. It's just if you're playing Jared Goff in a deeper league, or it's just bad for a week out of him. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the draft next year, who they go to pick up and whatnot. But yeah, so Jared Goff is my last bust of the week for quarterbacks. Now let's move into running backs.
Someone's a little tired.
Yeah, starting with number 1, Mike Davis. He put up a whopping 1 point, 10 rush yards on 4 attempts. Super disappointing when you're playing a bad Miami rush defense. It's almost like he's being eliminated out of this offense and turned over to Cordell Patterson's show.
Yeah, I'm dropping Mike Davis. I'm over that. I don't think there's going to be any way, once Cordell Patterson gets hurt, I don't see how this goes back to Mike Davis. Kyle Pitts is really stepping up.
Yep.
You have Ridley behind him, and then you have Cordell Patterson. I don't see how this turns around. I've never been big on Mike Davis the whole time. I just never thought it was going to be him.
No, I wasn't either.
Yeah,
it's just to me, he had 2 good games last year with the Panthers, and that's kind of it. You haven't really seen much this year. He saved some performances with a touchdown. But it's just, I feel like we're seeing the transition to Cordell Patterson.
There's better running backs out there that might not even play as much as he does because he's on the field a bit. He just doesn't get the ball a lot. Yeah.
So to me, it's just a huge disappointment, especially you're seeing. He's playing the Dolphins. They give up a lot of rush yards, and just for him to go out and put up 1 point, it's unfortunate. Let's move into our second bust of the week then with Antonio Gibson. 7.6 points, 51 yards rushing, 2 receptions and 5 yards. He's just not healthy, but he continually goes out there.
I don't know why they play him.
McKissick outsnapped him too this week. So to me, it's just Gibson. You got to play him because you got to worry about the red zone and the touchdowns, but he's just hurt, and I feel like you can see it when he's playing. Mm-hmm. They're not utilizing him a lot, and they're kind of dragging him out slowly.
I just don't get just let him rest. Try to see if it will heal up. You have McKissick back there. He knows this offense. You've seen him do it before. So maybe have him play a game or two. I don't exactly know what's going on. But, it's been pretty disappointing. And he has did the Broncos a bye and then the Bucks. So I don't know. Maybe after the bye it gets better for him. But it's been pretty disappointing the past 2 to 3 games. For the football
to me, it's just a huge disappointment year out of a guy you were expecting to be so good and high on. But yeah, Gibson's just not looking good. So that our number 2, number 3 here. Aaron Jones, 8.9 points, 19 yards rushing, 5 receptions, 20 yards. This, to me, it saved this game getting those 5 catches, especially PPR.
Yeah.
But Aaron Jones, I feel like, is kind of being left out of Packers offense as of lately.
A little bit, yeah. He's had okay games. Like last week, he had 21, and that's just because he caught a touchdown. He only has. If you take out that one game, week number 2, he only has 2 touchdowns outside that. So he's not really getting those red zone touches as much anymore. It's going to be interesting to see this Thursday, see what's going to happen with him. But what is he? He's running back number 7 on the year. He's getting around that 15-point range. So it's not something I'm like too worried about. I expect him not to be getting the only 8 points because after this next week he has Kansas City, Seattle, Minnesota, then the Rams, who aren't very good against the run, all 4 teams. So I expect him to have kind of a bounce back week, and I'm not too worried yet, but kind of like we were saying, he's kind of being left out a little bit in this offense.
Seems like they're turning over to that pass first offense, and whenever they need some yardage, they're turning it over to A.J. Dillon. So I don't know, just something to keep an eye out here with Aaron Jones. A lot of his games are being saved by receptions. Mm-hmm. So if you're not in a PPR, it's someone to keep an eye out getting rid of. But yeah, it's just down week for a guy that you're expecting 15 plus for sure. And against the team, they were playing. Who were they playing last week?
The football team.
Who were giving up some good yardages on the ground. So just a disappointing week out of Aaron Jones, and I feel like it's something to keep an eye out, see how he's going to be utilized, especially this Thursday. If he isn't getting the ball a lot, I think it's a caution for concern that maybe you try to sell high with what you can and get somebody out of it. So that's our third bust, and then I put a guy on here as like an honorable mention person, Darrell Williams here with the Chiefs. I think he's a good play week in and week out, but when you go down 24-0 in the second quarter, you're going to have a bad day when you're running back and you just can't do anything outside of running.
I would put him up there with kind of Henderson. You expected Henderson to have a big week, and it's not really like those players that they didn't have bad. They just didn't get the ball because
they weren't utilized.
Yeah.
There's just different game plan this week for them. So disappointing week out of those two, but yeah, that'll round out our running back busts of the week. Now let's go to some of the wide receiver busts of the week here. Starting with number 1, the guy we talked about, Tyler Lockett, 3.2 points, 2 receptions, 12 yards. This is Tyler Lockett's show.
Are you playing Tyler Lockett if you have him? Or
if I have him,
I guess unless you're forced to play him.
Yeah, if I'm not, I probably won't. To me, Tyler Lockett is the true boomer bust guy. Each week you don't know what's going to happen, and you play him solely because he can put up 30-plus points a week. It's just he is so inconsistent. This team has been in low-scoring games. They're not throwing the ball much. Like you saw last night, DK took his first reception to the house, like 80 yards. He had 2 more receptions after that for like 14 yards, and they just stopped. So to me, it's I think it's part of the play calling. I think it's also due to Geno Smith being in there.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like Tyler Lockett, to me, even with Russ, is a hit or miss play week in and week out.
Yeah, I think with Russ in there, you feel more comfortable. But Geno Smith is bad. He was a bad quarterback. He looked. I know it was raining last night, but he just looked terrible. And then Pete Carroll just keeps trying to run the ball and keeps trying to run the ball, and they just can never do it. So between that and then with the bad quarterback play, it's going to be really hard for Tyler Lockett these upcoming weeks until Wilson comes back. I'm not starting him, and then when Russell Wilson comes back, I might give it a week just to see how that goes going.
I'd wait to see, because for right now, to me, Tyler Lockett he's a true boomer bust guy week in and week out. So first one, our second guy here is another one I think we talked about on our start fades list, and that's Allen Robinson, 3.6 points, 2 receptions, 16 yards. It's just what you're seeing week in and week out with him. Matt Nagy, stupid, idiot, dumb, human being, worst person I've ever seen in my life. Hope he gets fired within the next 2 weeks. But yeah, just you're underutilizing a guy who's super talented, been 1,000-plus yard receiver the last 2-3 years. And it's mind-blowing to see the guy who's drafted third, fourth round getting no looks at all in the offense with a rookie quarterback. So
Yep.
Just a bad week all around for Allen Robinson. I think it's something you're going to continue to see until Nagy's gone or, I don't know, something gets figured out. If you have Robinson, you considering dropping him at this point?
Yeah, I would drop him.
Same with Ayuk?
The only reason why I would keep Robinson is because, like you said, they might trade him.
Trade
if he
him,
gets traded, I think then he becomes a valuable play. But once that trade deadline goes, I think the deadline is it this week or next week?
I think it's next week.
Next week, and he's still on the Bears, I drop him.
Yeah.
Only have 4 targets. They played a Tampa team who gives up a lot in passing yards, give up a lot to wide receivers, and the Bears could not do anything with anybody.
Nope.
So I am sitting him. Sad. You can't trade him. You're not going to get anything out
You
of
sit,
it.
you wait, yeah. If you're somebody who can afford to hold a bench spot and you got throw some players, see if you can get them just sit, and maybe something clicks and Matt Nagy's out in the next couple of weeks, and then they take over and it's more offense.
Justin Fields looks bad. It's almost like you're one Justin Fields to play, but now you're almost like just put any.
They're setting them up terribly with Nagy. It is what it is. It's gonna happen each week with them.
Yep. So and then you say Ayuk, I'm dropping Ayuk.
I think
I'm done with that.
He's done. That was a good 1 year wonder for him.
Yeah. He might bounce back next year, but this year ain't it.
No. Next guy here is Robbie Anderson, 4.4 points, 3 catches on 9 targets, 14 yards. He dropped at least 4 balls when we were watching on Sunday.
Yep.
Talk about one of the most disappointing players. He was like top 25 receiver last year. Can't catch a cold this year, just not great. He is bad, and it's just, to me, he's getting targets,
Yep.
but he's not catching the football. He's dropping them. So, and I think that's a big part that kills the drives for the Panthers, and I think it's a huge key on why Sam Darnold's numbers are down too.
Yep. So he has 38 targets in the last 4 weeks, and he's only caught 13 of them for 34%. Like it's bad. If I have Robbie Anderson, I'm dropping him. I'm dropping him unless for some reason all the other wide receivers get hurt on the Panthers. Like even then, he's not catching the ball. So I'm done with Robbie Anderson as well. He had a 1 year too, like good for him, but I'm done.
It's bad. He's been bad this year, and you can't say it's a lack of attempt because they're trying to get him the ball. He's just not doing anything with it.
Yep.
So Robbie Anderson out for me, and then last guy kind of threw on here. Julio Jones, 5.8 points, 2 receptions, 38 yards. When your team scores, 30 points?
Yep.
You would hope he has a big game, but no, A.J. Brown over the last 2 weeks has really solidified him as their number one, which is kind of what we thought was going to happen over the course of this year. And it just kind of looks like it's Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio's getting the third part of that party. So
yeah, he was coming off injury, but I think he said he was feeling pretty good. I was watching the game. I know he had a big play that actually got called back because of a penalty, but still, 2 catches and for 38 yards is not something you want to see in Julio, especially against a bad defense when your team puts up 30 and Derrick Henry doesn't score a touchdown. Like that's you need to have a better game than that. Hopefully, he kind of has a bounce back week. He does play the Colts, then the Rams, then the Saints. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for him. But if the team can't stop Derrick Henry, then I don't think Julio's getting the ball. And then if they stop Derrick Henry, he still has to get over AJ Brown. Looks like he's back too. So
yeah, AJ Brown's looking real nice. He was just missed that top the booms list for this week. Put up huge numbers, 27 points. He had a touchdown, 133 yards receiving. So AJ Brown's fully back, and I feel like I'm curious if Julio gets more involved in this offense, and if so, what's that going to look like? But yeah, it's struggle for him, and just overall struggle for any receiver out and player on the Titans outside of Henry and Brown right now. So that rounds out our booms and busts of week 7. Another one I kind of want to mention here is Edmonds. He only put up 10 points, didn't get a touchdown, 81 yards rushing. Bad Houston team. We thought he'd be able to rush all over him, but so overall bad week. That was our busts and booms. Let's go ahead and jump into our Thursday night preview here. We got the Packers at the Cardinals, and we're looking at Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray. It's at Green Bay, right?
Yes. No, it's at Arizona.
Okay, so it's in Arizona, which is a huge swing, I think, for Arizona. This game with Devontae Adams is going to look different. No Adams, no Lazard. You got going to look like a lot of reliance on Aaron Jones, and maybe Robert Tonyan gets more involved this week. Randall Cobb, I think, is going to be a big play for somebody.
I think Scantling comes back too.
You think Scantling?
I believe he's coming off the IR this week. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I think he does come off this week.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot to look at. Zach Ertz looked great with the Cardinals. There's just a lot of weapons on this Cardinals offense. What are you thinking as far as the game this week?
For fantasy-wise, I'm really looking at Aaron Jones, how he's going to bounce back. I think without Adams, they need someone to just kind of consistently rely on. I think that's what they need to do. They need to kind of run the ball, throw it to him. And I think also using Tonyan, especially in the red zone, that's where he excels at, had a lot of touchdowns last year. I think they really need to use him. And then you might see something from like Randall Cobb or something like that. So it should be a pretty interesting game for the Packers. On the Cardinals side, they just have a bunch of weapons. Ertz just takes him for over that tight end position, just like they haven't missed anything, and so they have 2 good running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end that they can throw to.
That's what, to me, I think big thing this week is looking at, like I said, what's Jones' production going to look like without these 2 guys out, without them out? And I think Tonyan's also production here. He's a guy who's kind of been down all year after last year. We knew the touchdowns couldn't keep up. But it's still a big week for him to try to get back on track. He caught one last week, but I'm looking at Tonyan to see how much involved he is. I think Randall Cobb's going to be a huge key factor this week for the Packers, so that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, like you said, Cardinals, they're going to continue to do what they do. I'm interested to see how Ertz is going to play with the insertion. I think this is good for the best thing that happened to Ertz was getting away from the Eagles, and I think you're going to continue. You're going to see his career kind of be reborn this year, and he's going to be successful. AJ Green has looked solid. Hopkins is always going to score touchdowns. You just never know. Like, Kirk could have a big game. Rondale Moore could have a big game. It's just, to me, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a shootout, personally. I think it'll be like 31-24 type of game. So there's going to be numbers put up. I know Rodgers not having his best weapon, but it's Aaron Rodgers, and that's what they're going to do. So, I don't know, fantasy-wise, there's a lot to look forward to and keep an eye out for, especially with these guys being out.
This looks like the best Thursday night game that's been played so far.
Yeah. And it probably will be one of the best for a while, because I know next week is Texans and
the Colts and the Jets after the week after.
And the Jets without Zach Wilson is not going to be fun to watch. So, yeah, so that's something to keep an eye out for. It's going to be a close game, I feel like, no matter what. You can't count Rodgers and them out at all. So, here, let's go ahead and move into gambling then. Some of our picks for Thursday night. Packers are plus 6.5 here against Arizona. And the over-under is set at 50.5 points right now.
So, I have some stats for you. The last, from 2019, 2020, Devontae Adams has missed 6 games. The Packers are 6-0 and 5-1 against the spread.
When he's out?
When he's out.
That's what I was thinking.
So I'm actually be going Packers plus 6.5, and the over is 4-2 when the games he missed. So I'm actually going the over, and I'm going Packers plus 6.5 in this.
Guess what? I think the Packers surprised. So I think they went outright here. I would take the money line at plus 235. To me, I think Cardinals are good. And I think everything they've done is excellent. But like you said, there's always a different type of player that steps up, and that's Aaron Rodgers when his best weapon's out. Because we saw last year Devontae missed, 4 games or so?
He missed, I think 2 last year, but 4 the year before. I think that's what it was.
So to me, it's just Aaron Rodgers. It's hard to bet against him, ever.
He always figures it out.
And I think getting Randall Cobb is going to be a huge play. He's going to have to utilize Tunyon, and I think they come up with packages to get Jones out involved in the run game and pass game, and it's just going to be a tough game. So I like money line here by Packers to go in and upset the Cardinals, and then the over. I think if I'm looking at, I would take that too. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Both teams are going to have to score a lot.
Yep.
And to me, I think Packers come in on top. So I would take all three of them money line. I would even take plus 6.5. If you're not comfortable taking a money line, I like the spread. I think 6.5 is way too much points for.
They were +3 before the Adams. So Adams made the line move 3 points.
3.5 point. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So to me, I'm riding the Packers here. I trust Aaron Rodgers. I will stick and take them money line.
Yep, I like the spread. I might even sprinkle a little on the money line as well because I see an upset here. People are like, oh, the Cardinals, they're 7-0, and I think the Cardinals are good, but I think there's some holes, and maybe they haven't played the best of quarterbacks, and Rodgers is one of the best. And I think he can maybe find those holes on that defense. So should be a great game. But yeah, I'm riding the Packers as well.
Okay, so that is our picks for Thursday Night Football. Do you have any props that you want to go with?
No, because none of the Packers props are out yet. It's only Cardinals, and only half of them are out anyways.
That's what before this comes out, one to keep an eye out for, I think, personally, is a Randall Cobb one. I think receptions.
I say that and Tunyon.
I think Tunyon touchdown is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Randall Cobb receiving yards is going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like Rodgers brought Cobb back here for a reason, and that's to be a reliable receiver in a game like this when you need the most. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm pumped for that game on Thursday, and those are our picks. I know we usually do college football picks, but we'll do that on our next episode. We'll get that out on Friday. So that'll be our starts and our fades. We'll do our college football picks, and then on Saturday we'll get out our what's it called?
The
Pick'em show. Maybe the tide's turning for the boys. You never know.
Hell yeah.
But we thanks everybody watching. If you're listening on Spotify, go check us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button for us, please. It'd be greatly appreciated. But let us know. Comment on it. Tell us like you like this, you hated this, what your thoughts are of the games and everything. But we appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Yep.